My name is Yvonne Ruff, and I'm going to be presenting a fun, fast-paced webinar on 10 things to know when doing cemetery research. First, what to wear. Shoes and boots, think ticks. Long pants, long sleeve shirt and hat, lots of sun, lots of sunburn. What to bring. Sunscreen, water, bug repellent, camera, phone, notepad, a soft brush, and a spray bottle of water. You'll see why in a few minutes. Now, first, how do you find where the person is buried? Well, first, New York State Vital Records, the death index, will tell you where the person died, what town or village, not necessarily where they were buried, where they died. Ancestry.com, the census records, and the death index will also tell you where the person died. To find out exactly which cemetery, you can use obituaries or the Find a Grave website, and that will tell you which cemetery the person is buried in. Now, you've got the right cemetery. How do you find the right headstone? Well, sometimes if you're really lucky, the cemetery records will indicate which area the person is buried in, lot A, lot B, but usually not. Usually, you're going to spend a lot of time walking around. You're going to look for family plots with the same name. Think about looking at all sides of a monument or headstone. Sometimes one part of the family name is on one side and another part of the family has their name is on the other side. So you're going to spend a lot of time walking around. Now, if you still can't find the right headstone, look around the edges of the cemetery. Sometimes broken headstones are thrown down there. Also look for fallen headstones, and then look for the headstones that might be illegible, that might be where your family member is buried. If you still can't find it, you can contact the caretaker of the cemetery, it may be a church or village, and they usually have very good records and they can help you find which plot your ancestor is buried in. All right, congratulations, you actually found the headstone. Now you have to read the headstone. Sometimes it's very difficult to read them, especially depending on the older ones and what type of stone they're made from. So here are a few tricks. First, spray some water on the headstone. That creates a little bit more of the shadows that will help you see what the letters and numbers are. Also, you can use a soft brush to gently clean away the dirt. What I tend to do is I gently use my finger to trace the letters. That's very, very helpful. Your fingers are more sensitive and they can actually discern the difference between a 3 and an 8 where your eye might not be able to. You can also use view the headstone from different angles. Sometimes depending on where the sun is, if you look from the side, it might create a better shadow and you might be able to see the letters better. You can also use sunglasses or a polarized lens on your camera, or the zoom lens or the black and white feature on your camera. All of those will add a little bit of depth and that might help you read the headstone better. Now, what information can a headstone provide? Well, actually lots. First of all, the name of the person, maybe their middle name, birth and death dates, a spouse's name or a maiden name. Some headstones have children's names on them, have their children's names on them. Some headstones have parents' names on them. They sometimes, between the symbolism and some of the other things on the headstone, you can discern their religious affiliations and also military awards or service. What do the symbols on the headstone mean? Well, the headstones are usually have a variety of symbols on them. These are just a few. Handshakes are God's welcome into heaven. The forefinger pointing up, the soul has gone to heaven. Typically, the lamb means a child's grave. So if you're walking through a cemetery, anytime you see a lamb, you can usually predict that that's a child's grave. Now, document your find. This is very important. Document it while you're there. Don't rely on pictures. You'll be very sorry if you do that. So take pictures of the headstone and surrounding family headstones. That's important. But try and transcribe all the information, including the epitaphs, while you're there. That will help you. You won't be able to read it as well from the photos. Take a picture of the cemetery sign. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 cemeteries with the same name. And so have a sign, have a picture of the cemetery where you actually found that headstone. Note where you found the headstone, lot A, lot B, otherwise you'll spend a lot of time looking for it again. And then draw a diagram of how the headstones were laid out for the family. That's helpful too. Warning, headstones can have the wrong information on them. Check what you find. They can have the wrong date, the wrong initials, a lot of things. Document everything. You will really be glad later on that you did that. Document everything. Never, ever, ever use chemicals, shaving cream, or anything like that on headstones. They're very fragile to begin with. Anything you do can damage them further. When you're searching for a particular person online, sometimes just use the last name if you can't find it. For example, I've seen instead of Yvonne Ref, it might just say Mother Ref. And so if you search for Yvonne Ref, you'll never get a hit. And remember, cemetery visits are addicting. Watch out. Last, common questions. Why are some headstones easier to read? Well, different times during history, they use different types of stones, and some of the stones are more fragile and porous and become very difficult to read. Also, the type of writing that was popular at the time. Italicized was very popular. It's very thin. It's very difficult to read. And then weathering. Some headstones weather more differently than others. And why are there so many small cemeteries? Oh my goodness, there are small cemeteries everywhere. If you actually do a Google search, you'll find that there's way more cemeteries than you think, because there's family cemeteries. A family might have just lived in a house for a long period of time, and they had their own little family cemetery off to the side. Small towns and villages each had their own cemeteries too. If you still can't find the headstone, as I said, contact the caretaker of the cemetery. It might be a church, it might be a village. They usually have excellent records and are usually very happy to help. So thank you for sharing this 10 things to know when doing cemetery research. We're going to be offering more genealogy webinars coming soon, so stay tuned. Thank you.